Ethan wasn't just a man with a camera. He had always felt a strange connection to animals, especially the ones that couldn't speak for themselves. Maybe it was because he had grown up mostly alone, raised by his grandfather after losing his parents young. The silence of the wild, the unspoken language of animals, it all felt like home to him. He was about to get in the Jeep when a strange sound caught his ear. It wasn't a bird. It wasn't the wind. It was something raw, low, and desperate. A growl, a cry, then silence. He froze. The sound had come from the east, near the dried riverbed. He grabbed his camera, slung it around his neck, and quietly followed the sound, moving carefully through the tall grass. The noise came again, this time sharper. It sounded like pain. 10 minutes later, Ethan stopped behind a cluster of bushes. He parted them slowly, and his heart nearly stopped. There, lying on its side and breathing heavily, was a lion, a full-grown male. Its golden mane was matted with dust and blood. One of its legs was caught in an old metal trap, hidden beneath dried leaves. The lion had clearly been there for hours, maybe longer. Its eyes were wide, not with rage, but with pain, fear, and confusion. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. His first instinct was to back away, but he didn't. He couldn't. The lion looked directly at him, not as a predator, but as a creature in deep, helpless suffering. That look pierced straight through him. He pulled out his radio and whispered urgently, "This is Ethan. I've found a trapped lion near Sector D4. It's injured. I need help, immediately." The reply came back, with static. "Copy that, Ethan. Stay clear. Team will reach you in 40 minutes. Do not approach." But 40 minutes? The lion was bleeding. Its breathing was uneven. Ethan looked again into its eyes. Something inside him snapped. He whispered, "I can't wait." Slowly, carefully, he moved forward. The lion growled low, baring its teeth, but didn't move. Its paw was caught tightly in the cruel metal jaws of the trap. Blood oozed out each time it twitched. Ethan knelt a few feet away. His heart pounded like thunder. He spoke softly. "Hey, I know you're scared. I am too. But I'm going to help you, okay? I promise I'll be gentle." He reached into his backpack and pulled out a thick blanket, moving inch by inch. He wrapped it around the lion's head to calm it, to cover its eyes. The lion growled again, but weakly. Then Ethan pulled out his multi-tool and approached the trap. His fingers trembled. One wrong move and the lion could snap. One mistake and he might not survive. But he didn't stop. He worked quickly, using a crowbar to loosen the rusted metal. The trap was old, illegal, and vicious. It didn't release easily. Sweat poured down Ethan's face as he whispered, "Just hold on, buddy. Almost there." Finally, with a loud creak and snap, the trap gave way. The lion flinched, letting out a deep, pained roar. But it was free. Ethan quickly backed away. The lion pulled, its paw toward itself, limping and groaning. It looked up at Ethan, blinking slowly, and then something unbelievable happened. Instead of running, the lion lowered its head. As if in gratitude, Ethan's voice cracked as he whispered, "You're okay now. Go. You're free." The lion turned, limped away into the tall grass, and disappeared. Ethan collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed by what had just happened. A human had touched a wild lion, not with fear, but with compassion. And the lion had understood. The rescue team arrived minutes later. They were stunned when they heard what Ethan had done. "You're lucky to be alive," one of them said. But Ethan didn't feel lucky. He felt something deeper. A kind of quiet honor. Over the next few days, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the lion. Was it healing? Had it found its pride again? Would it survive with that injury? These questions kept him awake at night. On the third day, he returned to the same area just to check. The trap was still lying there, broken, half covered in dirt. but the lion was gone. As he turned to leave, he felt something again, that same quiet shift in the air, a rustle, a presence. He turned slowly and froze. There, just 20 feet away, stood the lion. Its injured paw was wrapped in leaves, clearly cared for by nature or fate. But it wasn't alone. Beside it were 3 more lions. 2 lionesses and a young cub. Ethan didn't move. He didn't breathe. The lion stepped forward slowly, limping but proud. The others stayed behind, watching carefully. Then, the lion did something that shattered Ethan's heart completely. It bowed its head. The other lions followed. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. This wasn't just survival. This wasn't just instinct. This was something else. A gesture of respect. A moment of truth between 2 worlds that rarely meet in peace. He reached for his camera, but stopped. Some moments don't need to be captured. Some are meant to be felt, remembered, and carried quietly. The lion turned and with a deep, slow pace walked away into the wilderness. Its pride followed. Ethan stood there for a long time, unable to speak, unable to move. In all his years in the wild, he had never seen anything like it. Sometimes, the greatest stories are the ones we don't plan to tell. A week had passed since Ethan saw the lion and its pride, but the memory still lived inside him, like a fire that never went out. He didn't speak of it to anyone, not even to the team at the wildlife camp. It was too sacred, too personal. But nature, in its own way, was not finished with him yet. One afternoon, Ethan got a call on the radio. A ranger patrol hadn't returned from their survey, and they were last heard heading toward the rocky ridge near the northern edge of the reserve. The area was dry, sharp, and dangerous, both for animals and humans. "Ethan," the voice crackled. "We could use another pair of eyes. You up for it?" He didn't hesitate. On my way, he packed water, a map, his camera, and a few essentials. The sun was beginning to fall behind the mountains, turning the sky into shades of fire and gold. As he drove alone across the dry land, the shadows grew longer. The road turned rough and the grass thinned out. Soon, jagged rocks surrounded him and the wind howled like a whispering warning. Ethan stopped the jeep and got out, checking the area on foot. The silence was heavy here, no birds, no movement. Just the crunch of stones under his boots, and then he saw it, a ranger's boot print, followed by a second, then a third, and then blood. Fresh. His heart pounded. He moved faster now, careful but urgent. Just ahead, hidden between 2 large boulders, he found a torn ranger backpack, and beside it, claw marks. His breath caught. Not lion, something else. Leopard? Hyena? Suddenly, a growl. Ethan spun around, and there it was. A spotted hyena. Big, scarred, and mean. And not alone. 2 more crept from the shadows, their eyes glowing with hunger. Ethan slowly backed away, but his foot slipped on loose rock, and he fell hard. The hyenas moved closer. His mind raced. He had no weapon, no backup, no time. He tried to yell, to make himself bigger. But the hyenas didn't flinch. One snarled and leapt forward, and then out of nowhere a roar split the sky. Deep, powerful, thunderous. Ethan looked up and couldn't believe his eyes. Charging down from the ridge was the lion. His lion. It slammed into the lead hyena, sending it flying. The others turned and fled in panic. The roar echoed again, shaking the ground. The lion stood between Ethan and the danger, chest heaving, eyes locked on the shadows where the hyenas had disappeared. Then slowly it turned and looked at Ethan. No growl, no sound. Just a look that said everything. "I remember," Ethan whispered, tears filling his eyes. "You came back. For me." From behind the rocks, the rest of the pride appeared. One lioness circled Ethan, sniffing him gently. The cub peeked from behind her leg, wide-eyed but calm. They weren't afraid of him, they were protecting him. Ethan sat on the ground, shaking, not from fear, but from the overwhelming rush of emotion. He had freed one life, and now, that life had returned the gift. The pride stayed with him as he called for help. When the rescue team finally arrived, headlights cutting through the dusk, the lions were already disappearing back into the wild, like shadows melting into the earth. One of the rangers ran up. "Ethan, are you okay? We picked up your signal. What happened?" Ethan smiled softly, his voice hoarse. "The lions. They saved me." The ranger looked confused. "Lions?" But Ethan didn't explain. He just stared out at the darkening savanna where the pride had vanished. Later that night, as he sat beside the campfire, Ethan opened his camera. Not to check photos, but to write. Not a report. Not a blog. Just a letter. "To the lion I met, you taught me something no book ever could. That kindness, even when silent, is remembered. That wild hearts are not cold, they're just waiting to be understood. And when we choose to protect, we are never truly alone." He paused, then added one last line. "I freed you, but you freed something in me too." As the fire cracked, softly he looked up at the sky. Stars were blooming across the night like a million quiet promises. Somewhere out there, a lion roamed. A father, a protector, a friend. And Ethan knew, without a doubt, their paths had crossed for a reason. So, if you've stayed with this story until the end, thank you. Not just for listening, but for feeling, for caring. And if you believe in kindness, even the quiet kind, maybe like and subscribe. Because stories like these, they're not just stories, they're reminders of what it means to be human.